Today we're going to talk about mixtures and compounds. You will remember from previous videos that matter has both mass and volume. You'll also remember that matter exists in different states. Well, in addition to different states, matter also has different compositions. The compositions of matter can be divided into two different categories, mixtures and pure substances. Pure substances are elements and compounds. Elements, as you know, are found on the periodic table, such as copper and silver. Compounds are chemical substances that are formed from the reaction of elements with each other, such as salt or water. Mixtures are combinations of matter where no chemical reaction occurs. Mixtures can be separated by physical means, compounds cannot. To understand the difference between a pure substance and a mixture, you first need to understand the difference between a chemical and a physical change. It is very easy to figure out if something is a chemical or physical change. Just ask yourself, can you undo this? If you have an ice cube and that ice cube melts, is that a chemical or a physical change? Can you undo it? Can you unmelt an ice cube? Yes, you can. Just pour the water back into the ice cube tray and put it back in the freezer. That means melting and freezing are physical changes. Is scrambling an egg a chemical or physical change? Well, can you undo it? Can you unscramble an egg? Once you cook your egg, is there anything you can do to it that would make it go back to the way it was when you first cracked the egg? No, there isn't, is there? That means it's a chemical change. Chemical changes are when a chemical reaction happens. A new substance is formed from the original ones. You can't just separate the original substances out anymore. You got a whole new thing, a compound. Or in the case of scrambled eggs, many compounds. Remember that an atom is made out of protons, neutrons, and electrons. The protons and neutrons are bunched together in the center in what is called the nucleus. The electrons orbit the nucleus in what are referred to as shells. The electrons in the outermost shell are what interact during a chemical reaction. Think about water. It is made of two hydrogens and one oxygen. Hydrogen only has one electron and oxygen has 8 electrons. 6 of oxygen's 8 electrons are in its outer shell. When two hydrogens come close enough to oxygen, the electrons from the two hydrogens enter the outer shell of the oxygen. This makes both the hydrogens and the oxygen more stable than they would be on their own. It's okay if that sounded complicated and confusing. The important thing for you to know is that two hydrogens and one oxygen are more stable together as a single compound than they would be as separate gases. That is why water forms so easily. Water forming is a chemical reaction. The outer shells of electrons are stable together, and you can't separate them by physical means. They stop being two kinds of gases and become one different kind of liquid. Another common chemical change is rusting. When metals that contain iron, such as steel, make contact with the oxygen and air, a chemical reaction occurs. The iron bonds with oxygen and forms iron oxide, or what we usually call rust. Once your car starts to rust, you can't undo it. You can remove the rust and fill in the hole, but there will still be metal missing. That is the real reason why cars are painted various colors. It's not just because different people like different colors. It's mostly because the paint works as a barrier to keep the metal of the car frame away from the oxygen in the air. Another example of a chemical change is burning anything. If you burn something, you can't unburn it. All you can do is remove the burned parts. Burning, rusting, and cooking with heat are chemical changes 100% of the time. Physical changes don't change the identity of the ingredients. Trail mix is a mixture that you could easily separate into various parts. You can tell by looking at trail mix that it is made up of several different kinds of ingredients. This is an example of a heterogeneous mixture. There are two types of mixtures, heterogeneous and homogeneous. Heterogeneous mixtures, like trail mix, look like mixtures. Homogeneous mixtures look like they are one uniform substance. The names tell you which is which. Hetero means different, so heterogeneous means the mixture looks like it is made of more than one substance. Homo means same, so homogeneous mixtures don't look like mixtures at all. Sometimes you will hear people pronounce hydrogenous and homogeneous so that the first part is very obvious. They will say heterogeneous and homogeneous. This is not the correct pronunciation, however. They are pronounced hydrogenous and homogeneous. An example of a homogeneous mixture is salt water. To your naked eye, it just looks like water, but as the name implies, the water also contains salt. To get the salt out of the water, all you have to do is boil it. Eventually, the water will all evaporate and the salt will be at the bottom of the pot. If you cover the pot with a lid, it is possible to collect all of the steam that comes off the lid. The steam will lose heat and turn back into liquid water that will drip down. You lost none of the ingredients of the salt water, you just separated them into salt and water. This process is called evaporation. There are many ways to separate mixtures besides sorting solids into groups or evaporating a liquid part to get a solid part. If one of the substances in the mixture is made of iron, you can use a magnet to pull it out of the mixture. You could also filter a mixture, like when our ancestors used to put dirt through a screen to find gold. The gold was bigger than the dirt, so the dirt fell through the screen and the gold stayed on it. Sorting, evaporating, filtering, freezing, and using magnets are all ways of undoing a mixture. Remember that if you can undo it, that means it is just a physical change. The parts are still the same. So to review, matter can be either a pure substance or a mixture. Pure substances are either elements or compounds. Compounds are new substances that are created by chemical change. Mixtures can be either homogeneous or heterogeneous. Homogeneous mixtures look like they are one substance but aren't. Heterogeneous mixtures look like a mix of substances. Mixtures can be separated by physical changes.